What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. I'm excited to bring you my full review of a Grail knife that I never thought I'd ever own, my Koenig Arius. Let's get into it. We're going to run through some size comparisons against the Arius. First, we're going to bring out the Demco AD 20.5, more of a medium-sized knife, what I like to call a very EDC-friendly sized knife. And then we're going to go ahead and bring out my Spyderco Shaman with my Rips Garage Gear Tech patterned scales. Sorry about the fingerprints and smudge, but as you can see, the Arius is just a much larger knife overall. Definitely a full-size knife. We'll go ahead and move the Demco AD 20.5 out of the way. Let's bring out the Benchmade Bug Out, another friendly EDC sized. I call that my medium-sized knife. And we're going to go ahead and bring out the K320 made by Hogue. And again, pretty easy to tell, right? This is definitely a larger knife. Moving the Benchmade out of the way, let's bring a couple of budget knives out here. First, we're going to bring out the Elementum 2 button lock. No telling there, right? Can't tell that it's a big knife. And we're going to bring out the Civivi Praxis, which is one of the larger budget size knives that you can carry out there if you'd like a bigger knife. So pretty easy to see, right? Arius, definitely larger. So I would say let's do our thickness profile comparison against the larger knives, since that is what it is comparing against. And them skiffs, boy, we'll jump into that in a second. But the factory action too. As you can see, just a touch thicker. Well, with those contoured scales, it's actually a lot thicker than the Praxis. I was a little surprised by that. Let's go ahead and bring the Shaman out here. The Shaman's got a little chamfering around the edges, but not quite such a difference there, right? Pretty close to the same thickness, and then the Hogue is definitely going to be thicker. And again, it has the V shape to it, so that's why you see it is thicker overall. Let's go ahead and jump into the knife. So we're going to start with the Ergos. Super comfortable. I can see why people like the flipper tab, because back here in this position, I don't know if with the flipper tab being here, if they bring that cutting edge back, but this is very comfortable. Very comfortable. I feel the pocket clip there, but because it's flat and it's milled out, you really don't have any sort of hot spots, so to speak of. Just very comfortable. It is patterned, but it's such a subtle pattern to it that it's actually very grippy, but not so grippy that it doesn't go in and out of the pocket with any type of issues whatsoever. The forward finger choil is very comfortable. I find that I kind of angle my fingers back a little bit and just bring it up in between the second part, the second knuckle, the first and the second knuckle. I'm not quite on the second knuckle, and it's very comfortable to use like this. Super comfortable. It's got lots of chamfering, knockdown all around the edges. This thing is just really knocked down for comfort and hand. Long periods of use, this is going to be really comfortable. Lockup coming in at about 25%, maybe 30. I don't know why it's having issues focusing. There we go. Probably 25-30%, somewhere in there. It has that European style flat knocked down jimping that I see here. You see those on a lot of the giant mouse knives, but it also has a little bit of milling here or knockdown here so that you can get into it from the side plenty comfortable, and you do catch on the teeth of that milling really nicely, so you're able to actuate it. Really comfortable to deploy or disengage that way. And then you have a little bit of room to get in here with the finger easily. It's not tight, but it's definitely not generous either. It's a little snug, which is kind of okay with me. Action, with it not having the flipper tab, you just have the reverse flick and you have the thumb flick, which it works really good. I like that a lot. I like the clean lines, open and close, right? When it's closed, you have no flipper tab sticking out. I think it's just a very sexy look to it. And then open, I think it looks really good as well. Now the blade has looks like a polished finish on the deep hollow grind. Like that hollow grind goes all the way up. It's got a great sharpening choil on it. Really good. It's so far back. I like that a lot. It's not a thick blade at all. It's definitely more robust up here where the stock starts, but everything else on it is super thin. This thing is a slicer. Let me grab a sheet of paper. This thing, this thing is seriously slicey. And I actually have already used it to break down a knife package that came in just because I wanted to see how it performed. And wow, all I can tell you is it just glided through the cardboard like it was nothing, and it's holding a really good edge. I just think the profile on this is really well done. I like how they have like this stone washed finish down here, and then they came back and polished up in the grind there, and it has a beautiful swedge on it. It's a great knife. I really like this one a lot. Now, what did I sacrifice for this? Well, because I had the 20.5s and I carried them a bunch, and I have the Umenzon. Move these orders here. I decided to let the combination of these two, right? I decided to let my AD20S go. I liked that knife a lot. I loved the build. I was very pleased with how it came out, but the trade-off, right? The value of the knife plus the scales, skiffs, and pocket clip, I was able to basically trade the 20S for this Arius because of the price point, right? Where I ended at with that build versus where this cost me to get into the knife. It was the same. It was a wash. But also because I already had these two shark lock knives that I really like, that I've customized to my taste, to myself, that I'm very happy with. I got the BGM hollow grinds, skiffs. I've got these fat camo carbon scales that Carbonized makes, and then the original goat scales that are on here that have the OG1 pattern, and they both have the shark lock, incredible action and lockup. So I'm really happy and satisfied with those. And I carry them a lot more, to be honest. I carry them way more than I did the 20S, and I was carrying the Umenzon a lot more as well. But the reason I mentioned the Umenzon is because I already have one Grail knife that's coming in less than both of these that I really like, that has really smooth, clean action. I think the only way I'd upgrade from this is if they started to make Zons and Magna Cut, because I really like the S45 yen. It has performed really well. You know, I haven't dropped this in a while, and I've broken down a ton of boxes. Let's just see. Yeah, it probably needs a strop. I can feel a couple spots where it's getting caught up, but even then, it's still relatively slicey. I can see some of the, you see some of the spots where it's catching. So it's probably due for a strop. So if you ever wonder if I use this knife, I do use it a ton. I really can't explain it. You would probably think most people coming in, you know, first time to a Chris Reeves Knives, like, I'm going to baby this, I'm probably not going to use it. And then you get it in hand and you feel how it's built and how it performs, and it's just really nice. And I don't want to neglect it. Really just no looking back at all, right? It's so you're spending the money all at once, where I feel like, okay, you're in it for around 500 for the S45 yen variant of the 20S, and then $200 for the scales, another 40 for the clip, and, you know, 14, 15, let's just call it 20 bucks for, so you're kind of piecemealing it, right? It's not as noticeable as doing it all at once. But for me, because I sold it and got the money in, and it just went back out, it was like a wash. It just, like, it didn't happen. But to get that 20S, I had to sell, like, a, you know, I had to sell my Vero, I had to sell my Nimble X, which was fine because I have the relative that I like better than the Nimble X at this point. But I had to sell some pieces to get to that piece, which turned around and sold it to this piece. So it's not like I'm coming out of pocket for this, which I think a lot of people don't realize. That's how most collectors move through stuff, is they kind of pick it up and they go. The other thing too is, if you go back to the unboxing for this, the unboxing, you will see that this was all polished hardware, and I anodized this hardware because it's $765 to get it with the anode, $735 I think without the anodizing from them, and that was neither here nor there because I traded with someone, basically is how this equated out to be. But I liked the way that the anode looked. Now I ran mine at 26, but I think the anode that's probably on the knives that come from the factory are closer to that 30 mark. It's a little bit closer to I think this is probably 32. It's a little bit brighter. It might be 30, but I think it's 32. But I think it's a little bit closer to these blues that are a little bit lighter in color than it is this color. But I wanted the deep color because I think it looks good against the matte finish on the Arius. But it is such a cool knife, and I'm so glad to have it in the collection. USA made. My USA inventory had gone down a little bit, but it's up now, and perhaps I'll do a separate video for that. But just really happy with the knife. Very easy to recommend it. Now, if you're not into spending that much money, I actually do have some recommendations. So for about $350, which is a little bit more than half, you can buy a Spyderco Shaman for around 230 bucks. For around 150 bucks, you can pick up the Rips Garage Gear Tech scales with the milling on there. If you don't want the black hardware, you can still get titanium hardware off Etsy for like 40 bucks. And then you can get an MXG or a Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip, OCD. And you know, you probably will still, no, that's probably about right? 230, 130, 40, 50, 60 for the scales. So you're at 360, right? 230, 330, 40, 50, 60. So you're about 360. The hardware, the scales, and the OCD would probably put you about 375 to 380. So you're getting close, right? You're not getting close. Who am I kidding? You're not getting close at all. But American made, really good action. If anyone ever picks one up and they're disappointed in the action on this, give me a shout out, because I've seen a couple of them where the lock bar bend, might help if I open it. The lock bar bend is happening somewhere in the middle, like it wasn't bent correctly by the person that was assembling these. It should be back here at the notch, and I've had to fix a couple of those, and doing that puts the action right back where it needs to be. But I'm going to move along. You know, I had an alternative recommendation out here earlier also. If you want a USA made, what are they now? $550 now. So couple $100 less to get a Crispy knives that you can get really good action on. Is it going to fall shut? No, it is not. But you can get them to a smooth point to where you can flip them. I stopped doing that with this knife because I just really like the open and slow close of this knife. You know, it's something a little bit different in the inventory to have, very similar to a crossbar lock knife. So don't worry, if you're on a budget, you can get the orange peel Pulsar. It's going to be no flipper. It's going to have a forward finger choil. It's going to have a really nice flat grind. It's not a hollow grind, but it's going to have a really well done flat grind. Great edge. It's going to have a very good heat treat on the LMAX. 61, 62 is what they're running them at. The crossbar lock on here is done really nicely. Ergos are really good. Pocket clip is actually reversible, which is the first knife that I've brought out here that it is reversible. Well, that's not true. The Spyderco is reversible from the factory, but when you upgrade to the Applied Weapons Tech, oh God, I keep saying that, the Rips Garage Gear, I don't know what's wrong with me today. The Rips Garage Gear scales, they're only applied on one side or the other. You got to indicate. So you can get it lefty friendly, but not reversible the entire time. This is the first one that I mentioned that is reversible, and it has the nice little titanium filler tab. A great alternative recommendation. Very budget friendly. If you want something not Chinese, not USA, I would go for the 9. This is going to be a knife that I'm going to make more recommendations on. I really like this knife. From a size perspective, it is smaller, but it's a medium knife, right? It's going to be really close to the Demco AD 20.5. As far as size, it's going to be a little bit longer than that, but I really like the build quality of that knife. The Taiwan plant did a really good job on here, and I just love this knife so much. The skiffs on here made it really smooth, and really just happy to have that in the collection. Also happy to have the Arius in here. If it is one of the Grails that you're considering, and you're in a position to where you can either just buy it, or you're in a position where you can move some inventory and have funds to pick it up, or recover funds that you spent out on it, sort of like what I did. Mine pretty much traded out one knife for the other. It is easy to make this recommendation. It's such a cool knife. It's a great piece to have. The build quality, the fit, the finish, the tolerances on it, the attention to detail on it are really good. A lot of people are going to say not worth spending over $700 good, and that is a matter of perspective. If you're the type of person that likes finer things in life, right? Maybe you're into sports cars. Maybe you're into high-end firearms. Maybe you like spending money on golf clubs. I mean, there's so many facets in life where you have the opportunity to splurge a little bit where you normally may not. I'm as budgety as the rest of the people out there. I like finding good deals for certain things, and I never thought I would be in this position to own something like this, but I am glad that I got to check it out, add it to the inventory, and I think like the Zahn, like my Spyderco Shaman that's completely built out now, like my MSI, unless they come out with like the titanium MSI, those are keepers that I see right now as long-term in the collection. I don't include my bug out in that, even though I can never get rid of this. This is a gift from the wife, and I really love this build. It is still super lightweight, really, really improved by the titanium scales. I'm always getting this thing dirty. Probably need to go ahead and clean it up and re-anno it. I don't even know what is on it, but this is a gift from the wife. So sentimental, it's one of my first high-end knives. It was Spyderco, and then it was this Benchmade were the first of the high-end. Like when you get into the collecting, these are the gateway knives for American knives, in my opinion, because they're affordable. They have outstanding warranties that back up their product, and just great knives overall. But easy to recommend this. Super glad to check it out. I hope you enjoyed the video and a little bit of the the rambling as to how I got here and why and my thought process on it. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to everyone out there that likes and subscribes. I appreciate each and every one of you and the comments, all that help the channel. Thank you so much for all the support. I hope all of you have a fantastic week. I love you guys. Until next time, peace.